you should read Stray Dogs from Image Comics. But before I get into the synopsis and my thoughts on this book, make sure you hit that subscribe button and bell notification so you don't miss any future updates or videos. So since it's October and this is the first review for October, I figured this title would be very appropriate because Stray Dogs is a great example of what I enjoy when it comes to the horror genre of comic books. First, we'll start with a little synopsis. This story follows a group of dogs, in particular, the new dog in the house, Sophie. So the premise is that dogs really don't have the best long-term, short-term memory, right? Scientists have kind of showed us that they don't really have an episodic memory. I mean, they might. There's been some debate about that, but for the most part, it's under the premise that dogs just kind of forget things as time goes on. They really just live in the moment, focusing on who's taking care of them, who's feeding them, are they safe, do they have a place to go to the bathroom, like, are they happy? That's kind of, they just focus on this exact moment. And that's kind of the backdrop and the overarching premise of this book is that the dogs have very short memories. So the story starts off when Sophie is brought into the house by a strange faceless man that we never actually see what he looks like. But she's brought in and she's the new dog and she's kind of nervous. And, they show her around. The other dogs kind of introduce her to everyone. They all get a chance to smell her. And it's kind of funny and lighthearted in the beginning. But then Sophie taps into a memory when the faceless man gives her a scarf. As soon as she gets that scarf, she remembers she had a different owner. She had a lady that was hers. What happened to her lady? Where did she go? How did she end up in this house when she was at a different house with a different lady the day before? And that's kind of the beginning of this rabbit hole that these dogs all kind of go down together. They begin tapping into their memories and remembering how they got to this house. They really take a moment and they think, how did I get here? Why am I here? And then they remember that they had different owners, that they had different homes, different lives, and people that loved them. And essentially the dogs kind of figure out that this man who's taking care of them now killed their previous owners, and the dogs are essentially the trophies from these killings. I'm gonna leave it there in terms of synopsis. I don't want to spoil anything because it's a short read, but it was really, really good. I'm a really big fan of stories that kind of follow like serial killers, like Silence of the Lambs, Mindhunter on Netflix, Dexter when it was still on TV. So this book really fulfilled that kind of genre for me. And I'm a big dog lover. I actually have 2 dogs of my own, so it kind of filled that hole for me as well. And those 2 things came together so perfectly for this story. Following dogs really gets you attached to the characters right away. I mean, there's never any dog movie or anything that people don't seem to be attached to the dogs. And especially with the artwork from Trish Foster, who is actually best known for My Little Pony, which a lot of people probably don't read, but, you can definitely see the inspiration of that artwork in here. You really become attached, and it is cartoony, but like really has a great amount of tension. And I gotta say, tension is the key word in this book. It was just incredible how they were able to maintain the same level of tension across 5 issues. I mean, the whole time you're on the edge of your seat wondering what's gonna happen to these dogs. One of the key elements that I think really played into this overbearing sense of tension, keeping you on the edge of your seat, really keeping you hooked into this book, was their use of the dogs' memories. So like I said before, that's the overture of the book in the beginning, is they say, they're really not going to remember this tomorrow. They're really not going to remember this, later today. And that's kind of the running theme throughout the whole thing. Every time they start investigating to see how they can get away from this killer or see if they can get some evidence, they forget what they're doing. And it plays out in the dialogue for some kind of lighthearted humor in the background. But the entire time you're like, please don't forget, and you're constantly hoping that the dogs will remember what they're doing, that they'll be able to remember what they found, be able to connect the dots, and you're rooting for them the whole time, and it really keeps you locked in. And it is an emotional roller coaster. You're on the edge of your seat with this constant tension of what's going to happen to these dogs. Are they going to get away from this killer? And it's just, you go this way, you go that way, it's up and down, and you're on the edge of your seat. I seriously could not put this book down as soon as I started reading it. My intention was to go in and maybe read the first half or the first 2 issues or so, but as soon as I got got into it, it was boom, I was hooked, and I sat and I read the whole thing. And I don't typically do that with trades. Sometimes I'll break it up over a day or two so I can have time to digest, but I seriously could not put this book down. You know, one of the reasons I decided to read this is this series has been blowing up in the collector market. The prices for the first issue have skyrocketed. I actually sent in some copies to get signed and graded. It has just been incredibly popular with collectors. I believe it's already been optioned, which it should be because it would make a great movie. So that was kind of what brought me in initially, is that it was so popular, and once I read it, I completely understood why. You can get a copy of Stray Dogs down at the link in the description. Like I said, this is definitely worth a read. It is perfect for this Halloween season in October, and it is seriously a book that I was not expecting a lot from, but was pleasantly surprised. Are you going to be reading Stray Dogs? Are there any other horror titles that you're a big fan of that I should check out? Let me know in the comments. And be sure to hit that subscribe button, bell notification, so you don't miss any future episodes. And I'll see you later.